I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus I was evil. I never shook baby.
Hello there. And
Hello.
We're back here again. Here we are again.
Benjamin. How's it going, my friend?
Jose. It's good, my friend. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, my friend. Couldn't be better, my friend.
We have a couple topics for today's episode.
Hell yeah, we do.
Which would you like to start with?
Um,
The queen bee, or the guy who almost destroyed the world.
what if we combine them so this is like the woman who almost destroyed the world?
You mean what if we came up with this really cool portmanteau with both names and
Yeah.
then marketed that way?
Swiftenheimer.
We thought of that.
Or Oppen Swift.
Oppen
Oppen-
Taylor.
I like Swiftenheimer.
Yeah, Swiftenheimer's good.
Taylorheimer.
Let's start with Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the right wing is not going to win this one.
I know.
I think this is a battle. I think you guys are being really dumb, and it's like the discourse. But let's discuss the discourse. The right wing decided to go after the most popular musician in I don't want to say history, but recent history.
Yeah,
Who's even come close? Like Beyonce,
Maybe,
but
Taylor
Jay-Z,
Swift, or not Jay. What's
no.
that? The one who went nuts, who started liking Nazis.
Oh, Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kanye would I don't
He
know.
didn't release a movie though. That's the thing. So
I don't know dollars and cents wise.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you who's more successful on that end and also they all have they don't just make music, right? Like
Right.
Kanye's clothing and Beyonce does all types of shit, right?
Yeah.
But I think Swift beats them out by a lot, even at their height. Like she's been, and these I don't know how true. I didn't deep dive into the numbers, but like apparently she's responsible for like the economy recovering and stuff like that, like crazy shit like that. And I don't know if that's true, but she's extremely successful, and has one of the biggest audiences and fan bases, and is honestly like, and then here's why I'm just gonna get right into it. Like I don't get the right wing attack on her.
Yeah,
she's like one of the least obnoxious musicians out there.
For the most part, yeah. Sometimes she wades into politics once in a while, but for the most part, she's nowhere near as obnoxious as like.
I will take that. Once in a while is a breath of fresh air.
Stephen King,
right? It's a breath of fresh air. Like I know that pick of her always circles around with her with Biden cookies 2020.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's a Biden voter, but she's not out there like promote like before every show, or at least I haven't been on Taylor Swift show, but I know. That shit would definitely make the rounds if before every show she got out there talking about the issues, because that always happens.
Right.
There's a million people at her shows, not literally, but like with camera, like that would get, and she doesn't. So sure, I'm sure she like votes blue, but no
matter who.
Yeah, no matter who. But it's so like, to me, she's refreshing for her stardom.
Yeah.
Because I think if it was so many other artists had that stardom, he or she would be spouting their politics as much as possible, because they would feel an obligation to do that. So yeah, of course, it's not like perfect, not just shut up and sing, but for the platform that she has, my God, it's like, you guys try and win her over.
Yeah, I know.
Like she's not, I mean, she dresses like a pop star. Mm-hmm. She's not out there gyrating like a Miley Cyrus type during her whole thing. She's not doing anything like sexually explicit. It's like regular pop music.
Yeah.
That's like mildly sexy, because you need sex appeal. It's part of why people like anything, like any sort of entertainment. For it's not anything, but a lot of live entertainment is sex appeal. It's interest. It's people like to see beautiful people perform and do things.
But she's also harmless enough to not get the parents of teenagers too up in arms either.
Of course, and that's also, I think, part of it too. It's parents are okay with them like their kids going to see her shows. I don't know. She seems kind of like a girl next door type. Like I don't really know. I like a couple of her songs. Like I could name probably not even 5 total, but it just seems really foolish to purposefully go after her.
You know what's funny is that a few years ago, this was definitely before 2020, she was getting a bit of hate from the left for not being political enough.
Right.
And it's funny because
Yes.
that she wasn't as outspoken as a feminist as many other pop stars. But it's funny, like you would think that she would be like a great role model for women, which is like, hey, she's not only is she popular, but she's built like a whole brand around herself. Isn't that good enough? Where it's like, hey, look, she's a woman, but she's also one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment industry. Like, but that wasn't good enough for feminists back in 2016 or 2017 or whatever. So.
No, because she wasn't trying to peg the patriarchy.
Exactly, yeah. But now it's the right who are up in arms.
Yeah, I think it's very telling. It's like she could be a saving grace for the Biden administration, and I think it's really dumb to go out because like people dig in.
Yeah,
especially her rabid fan base. It's like if you go after her, they might just vote out of spite. Like there might be thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people who wouldn't even vote or care, or maybe vote. Like a lot of people don't pay attention to politics all that much. It's like even I know lots of Bruce Springsteen fans who are like ardent Republicans.
Yeah.
And they just don't care. It's like, yeah, we love his music, we love his shows, but I don't give a shit about his politics.
Right.
Like, and Bruce Springsteen now is like, my God, he's like a moderate compared to what what exists. I mean, he's like the working class guy, whatever.
Yeah.
But his politics used to be considered like very liberal. Now it's like almost refreshing. He did that whole remember that Jeep commercial, I think it was, about like coming to the middle to the center.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would be happy with that from their entertainers. Instead it's it's going to get it's going to run the gamut at the Oscars. You're going to see every sort of identity group saying, giving some spiel at, when they accept their award.
Yeah.
Which is always fun. Make a drinking game out of it.
Yeah, seriously. I would love to see Ricky Gervais host the Oscars.
They would never let him.
I know.
Never let him. But it would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
His Golden Globes one is still one of the best. And that was like, how long ago was that?
Just a couple years ago, I think. It wasn't that long ago.
I think
maybe it was 3 years ago.
I don't think so. I think it was pre-2020. It's definitely pre-COVID.
It was definitely pre-COVID for sure.
Oh yeah. So like it wasn't even after the Great Awakening. That's like imagine if he did it now.
Yeah.
It would be unbelievable. Like 2 years ago would have been, if he did like 2021, would have been unreal. It would have been incredible.
The Hollywood Foreign Press Association, I'll give him credit for constantly bringing him back because he did at least like 3 or 4 of them. So it's like,
what was
I remember the very first one was controversial, but they kept bringing him back, so it's like sweet.
The famous one was the Golden Globes, right?
Yeah. But the Golden Globes is put on by the Hollywood
Foreign Press. Yeah, because he's like, I'm sorry. It's like he says something. It's like, and they're extremely racist.
But yeah, he's doing like all the like Epstein jokes and
he was
Weinstein jokes,
and that was all before so much more has come out. Like was Epstein? He was dead, right? Yeah, Epstein was dead by that point. But like all the race stuff, all the gender stuff, like oh my God, he would be amazing now. Unfortunately, do we know who's hosting? By the way,
I don't think it's been announced yet.
Okay. Well, anyway, so getting back to Taylor Swift, I want to touch on this. It's kind of like one of those things. It's everywhere because the other side, there's no way that all of her fans that span coast to coast, right? I think it spans. I know for a fact. I know a lot of people who love Taylor Swift. It's like it spans income. Like yes, I think it's overwhelmingly white and female, but there's no way that like they're all just Democrats.
Right.
They're just not. So by you,
it's from a small town in Pennsylvania too. So it's like
there's
probably a little bit of red appeal.
Right. And it's like, why would you wouldn't you want to cast a wide net and like try and foster some of that, even if in the end she does come out for Biden? Like at least you've tried, at least you maybe won over some people. So it's maybe not like a 90-10 split, more, I don't know, like a 70-30 would even be better, something like that. It makes no sense to me. And it's so like, oh shit, sometimes the right wing doesn't know how to fight the culture wars.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they do really well, and then other times, like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I always have to remind myself, because I don't consider myself a conservative. I'm conservative on some things, but like, for so much of my life, it was always the right that was kind of uptight about like don't make fun of Jesus, don't make fun of the military, and this and that. So it seemed like they were the ones who were kind of like
they were the ones about control.
Exactly.
That was the stereotype. But
so now that they're on, their backs are against the wall, it's easier to kind of side with them on at least cultural issues with regards to like censorship and free speech. But then every once in a while they overstep their bounds, and then you go, oh right, yeah, conservatives, right? I forget.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a lot of hypocrisy on all sides, and I do get, like, I listen to a good podcast of Barry Weiss. Honestly, does some of the best podcasts, and like she's such a good journalist, and she has really interesting people on, and she's very fair. Honestly, some of her, like, it's not that I listen to all of them. Like, I have some podcasts where I literally listen to every episode. For her, same with Rogan. It's like I don't listen. In fact, I go like weeks without listening to a Rogan show. It all depends on the guest. But then I'll watch like 3 hours in a row, depending on who he has on. Same with Barry Weiss. Like, but she had one on with Yasha Monk and Chris Rufo, and I've listened to both of them before. And they both make good arguments. But like Chris Rufo, I mean, he gets a lot of flack from other podcasts I listen to that are, heterodox but liberal. But like he was making some of the best arguments that were like more real. And while I agree, like, and I've said on the show many times, like, you should have your values, you should stick to your values. Sometimes it's like that doesn't fucking work. Like you do have to fight fire with fire. Like you do have to, like Yasha Monk and these kind of heterodox liberals who see it going in the wrong direction, but it's like, well, we should just have open debate and forum shows. Yeah, but that's not even playing field. Like the left controls, the crits control so many aspects of culture. You're not going to get any ground that way. You have to actually like win elections, take over different institutions, and that's how you make change, because that's what the left did for 50 fucking years. And again, I think some of that's probably good. Like, I don't know if I would have wanted to go to a right-wing Harvard or whatever, but I also don't like what it is now at all.
Exactly.
So, and you seeded that, like the right seeded so much of culture while focusing on things like low taxes and I don't know what else did they get, like business interests, war, like chamber of commerce, like not even really anymore. Immigration shit, like I don't know, free trade, who gives a shit? Like it doesn't work. So like culture is so important, as we've seen, that like now the right is trying to make up for lost time. As you're going after, it's like they're out of practice. You're going after Taylor Swift, man. Like, I don't know, that doesn't seem like the right move. The best bet you could probably do is hope she just keeps her mouth shut. But doing this is not going to make her want to.
It just reminds me so much of like when the right was going after like MTV because it's obscene, where it's like, it's, I mean, obviously MTV's best days are behind it, but back when it was like a much bigger force, and it's like, good luck shutting down MTV, dude. Like, it's kind of a similar thing now, where it's like, dude, you're wasting your time going after Taylor Swift. You're just looking dumb and uptight.
It looks dumb. It looks weak. If you want to talk like real politic, like battleground shit, like it looks weak to go after when she hasn't done anything. She had one picture with Biden cookies. Like, I don't know, maybe she had some tweet or something. Like, she's not one of these obnoxious artists. Like, to be honest, I don't really care for her music. I don't. I think Swifties are toxic in a lot of ways. Like, I'm not a Taylor Swift defender, but I just don't get it. To me, she seems like totally appropriate and fine, and she makes people happy, and she brings in lots of money for people. And honestly, if you want to, like, the best thing you could do, if I was a consultant for like the right-wing culture war, the best way to attack Taylor Swift, you know how? You attack her from the left and say what her carbon footprint is by these private jets flying all over the place. That's how you would attack her, to get some lefties to go, well, I'm not voting for that. Like, I'm not, like, I'm against that. There are people who feel strongly enough about that, where they should vote green or something.
So we should talk about the controversy itself. So she's dating Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce, and from the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're going to the Super Bowl.
Do you want me to take this? Do you want me to take the lead here with the football part?
Yeah, so they're competing for the Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah, so the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. Surprise, surprise, they're very good. They're like a new dynasty. If they win the Super Bowl, it's no doubt they're a dynasty. But the Chiefs did that thing where they were kind of like America's sweetheart for a little. I like small market teams. They're a classic team. They literally went to Super Bowl I against the Packers in the 60s. Like they're one of the original teams, I think, or like they're a very old team. Great fan base. Their stadium's known for being one of the loudest. I've heard it's like a college stadium. It's middle America. They have a very lovable head coach, Andy Reid, who I love. They have the super talented quarterback. So to be honest, I was rooting against the Chiefs anyway. Actually, nothing to do with Taylor Swift, but does have to do with Travis Kelce, because he did that bullshit Pfizer commercial where he's getting the vaccine, which makes absolutely no sense. He's a professional athlete. Like to me, it's that kind of propaganda that's why I would have been rooting against the Chiefs. Even if Taylor Swift and him never met, like it has nothing to do with Taylor Swift. I just can't stand that he took this payout so that he could go, spread misinformation about the vaccine and keep that shit going. Again, in 2024, he's in Pfizer commercials for the vaccine. In 2024, as a supreme athlete in the NFL. So that aside, that's why I'm rooting hard for the Niners. That aside. So the Chiefs did that thing where now they're like kind of annoying because they're really, really good. At first, like, oh shit, like the Chiefs, they never won a Super Bowl. No, they won one. They won Super Bowl 4. But that was in like the early 70s or something. It was great to see them back. Very loyal fan base, and that was like 19 maybe, and now it's like fuck these guys. they're like the new Patriots.
Yeah, my dad. I haven't checked in with him, but I doubt he's happy right now because
no, he hates the Chiefs. Yeah,
he hates the Chiefs and he hates the 49ers because he's a Raider fan.
True. Actually, oh my god, that's so funny you say that, because I was just listening to Part of My Take, again, one of those podcasts I listen to like every single one of, and they're like, this is the worst possible Super Bowl for a Raiders fan. It's the Niners, who's their like Bay Area rival. It's the Chiefs, who's a divisional rival, and it's in the city where the Raiders went to after they left Oakland. I don't know if you knew that the Super Bowl's in Las Vegas.
Oh, well,
so
it's on their turf now.
This is the biggest, yes, exactly. This is the biggest smack in the face to Raiders fans. One of my best friends is a Raiders fan. Coincidentally, his name's also Joe. Shout out to Joe.
Thanks.
And but your dad, I feel bad for Raiders fans. And also I don't know is your dad an A's fan?
No, it's funny. He's actually a San Francisco Giants fan.
Interesting. Okay. Well, the A's are also leaving for Las Vegas, so Oakland's just getting fucked. Yeah. Like they're literally not gonna have and they're done. Like they're not having any more sports franchises. Yeah. And they also lost. Oh crap! What's the burger place? The burger cheeseburger.
Oh, In-N-Out.
In-N-Out burger. Yep. In-N-Out burger also closed in Oakland because of all the robberies and theft and whatnot.
Well, it's not. If it's under $900, it's not a crime. So,
do you know how much beef you have to steal to steal $900?
I know.
Burger patties. Did you see that with Newsom?
See what?
Newsom? You didn't see? So Newsom was in some like Zoom conference, but this was recorded with, I don't know, some government officials, right? Yeah. And he's talking about how he was in a store. I forget, maybe a Target, and how he's checking out. Mm-hmm. And a guy just like walks out with like $380 worth of shit, and the woman's like, "Oh, he's like, wait, did he pay for that?" And the the clerk's like, "No, like because of the governor." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Yeah, the guy." And then she didn't realize who she was talking to until she did, and then like wanted to take a picture with him. And he like his defense was, "No, it's not." And like he didn't even. And of course, the people on there are all bootlickers for him, so they're like laughing and stuff. But like he didn't defend himself. So yeah, $950, and he starts saying like that number, like you just brought up. But like, no, he didn't steal that one. He stole less. And Newsom's like, "What are you talking about? Let me talk to the manager." It's like, dude, you promote this shit.
Yeah.
Like you can veto this stuff. You help pass these things.
Yeah.
Like when you were the mayor of San Francisco, when you're the governor of California, like
Yeah.
what are you talking about? You don't know. And just shows like these people have no idea. Like
Yeah.
they have no idea what goes on in the states that they govern.
Yeah. It's terrible, man. I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love California. California's the best state. So
Well, that's not even close to being true, but I know you love it. I like it. When I've been there, I'm coming back.
yeah. Yeah, you got it kind of has to grow on you, like some kind of weird fungus.
It's like imagine if it didn't have the terrible politics.
I know.
It would be like honestly, it would be like Eden. It's bountiful. It's great weather for the moment. We got fires and shit and earthquakes. But besides that, it's like the most of the time amazing weather.
Beaches and mountains and
mountains. You have it's its own little country. It's like its own little European country. It has wineries and cheese and olives and food and everything and
art and culture and technology and everything. But no,
but it's run by psychopaths.
I know.
And so California thrives. And like I liked LA when I was there. It's not that, but in spite of the politics, it's still desirable to a lot of people. Now it did lose population for the first time since like it existed, and there are problems that I think are becoming untenable. But you live there, and it's like it speaks to how gorgeous and like important to America it is, in spite of the lunatics who run the government.
I know.
It's crazy. I wonder if there's going to be a swing, because what's funny is like California was red not that long ago.
Yeah, we had Schwarzenegger as our governor. And,
you had Schwarzenegger. That was
he's pretty moderate though.
And you need. I mean, Republicans have to be moderate basically to win kind of anywhere in California. Even like red parts of California aren't really like quote unquote like MAGA California. And I think there's some benefits to that. And he was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was a recall. Who did he?
Gray Davis.
Oh, it was Davis. Who's Brown? That was
I think it was Jerry Brown.
Jerry Brown. Was he the mayor of San Francisco? I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, not to get into like California politics, but like it used to. I think there's going to be a swing back. Never like I don't think Republicans are going to control California, but I think you're going to start seeing like Huntington Beach go red again. Like it already did in 2022. Like Orange County. A lot of like basically not. I mean, LA went far red. People don't realize that. It just not, of course, a majority.
Yeah.
But you string some of those together, you don't need to go red to not be fucking crazy. You can just go, oh, we can't, like, we have to be more moderate on a lot of this stuff, even if they're still Democrats. Like, that's what you want. That's what you aim for in a place like LA or San Francisco. It's get the loonies out, have the Chinese population vote out, like they voted out Chezaboudin. They voted out these crazy people on the world. Like, that's what you can hope for. And not even saying that having Republicans would be good necessarily in a lot of this. I do think it'd probably be good for California at this point. But just having like
just a good moderating influence.
Exactly. You want a moderating influence. Like, you don't want, like, it became so blue on one side that it was like you had to, like, the left got to be crazy. Like, that's why that shit doesn't exist in blue parts of other parts of the country. And you know, it's really the super like the very West Coast, like Seattle, Portland, or like pockets of some cities that are very blue, but like not the states at whole.
Yeah. That's why I was pulling for Michael Schellenberger when he ran for governor twice. But
I would love Michael Schellenberger, but he's a great intellectual. I think he has a lot. I mean, I listened to his book, his audio. It was the first audiobook I listened to. Spotify allowed that. But he's a writer, activist, online guy that doesn't win. We've learned, like, as much as we love him and as many followers as on Twitter, like, that's not how you win elections, unfortunately.
But I'm glad that he's out there spreading awareness about the unhoused.
I think what he should do, he should take his ideas to a state that's either red or more moderate blue, that also, I mean, every state has homeless issues, right? And try and apply it there. California's simply too big and too far gone. In that sense. I think he should go to, like, I don't know, like I'm sure Colorado is pretty blue. I don't know, another state that would be more open to that would have more support, where you have like reasonable Democrats and reasonable Republicans, because like you can't go to too red of a state because the Republicans are going to be like, this too much centralized government.
Yeah.
Like that's too much tax paying. Like did we just look at the numbers? Like no, but this is how much you save. This is what you save, and people not moving away because it's too dangerous. People, their property values, like, but like a lot, there's some parts of the country that the Republicans go, no way. Like no way are we giving that. So you have to go to like a purplish state that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would be.
Yeah. Well, maybe in
Nevada?
a few, maybe Texas in a few years, with the a massive influx of Californians.
Dude, no, but that's a misconception though. I was watching something. Most people who moved to Texas,
Uh-huh.
like they actually gained Republicans.
Really?
That's what people don't realize. Yeah,
Yeah.
as much. And some states, Georgia went a little more blue, but Texas and Florida, all the people has all these fears like no, those were Republicans fleeing blue states. That's why places
Interesting.
like California got more blue.
Right. Shit.
Overall, but it was, and some of them did switch back, but I watched the whole thing about it, and this was Vox. So like Vox, if they're gonna propagandize saying like no, keep doing this in terms, like they would have, like they were said no. Arizona, I think maybe got a little more blue, but
Okay.
Texas and Florida and North Carolina actually got more red because I believe so, because of people leaving from other states, from blue states.
Right.
So I think Texas is going to actually get deeper red is my prediction, unless I'm like, you have more of that crazy shit like abortion stuff that is pretty sick, where that woman like couldn't get the very necessary abortion, or she like, could have died and shit like that. Like that is the only thing that's going to turn people off.
Or maybe Beto O'Rourke can make a roaring comeback.
Beto, oh my God. I remember I was rooting for Beto O'Rourke back in those days. I was one of those shit libs. I was like, yeah, but like he almost beat Ted Cruz, which is wild to think about. But then Ted Cruz won by a lot in the next election. It's fun. I like elections. I think it tells a lot about how this country is feeling and what works and what doesn't work. Like there is, as much as I shit on democracy and consider the whole system rigged, like you do get an idea. Like Americans are a lot smarter than people think. You get an idea, like for instance, the whole like Republicans lost the abortion thing. Like they just lost, like not a single state, red states, like deep red states, voted to not, whatever, make it, put in their constitution or vote for in favor of abortion bans and stuff. Like we're talking Ohio, Kentucky, Kansas.
Yeah.
Like if it was going to pass anywhere, it'd be in these states.
Be those states, yeah.
It just didn't. Wherever it was on the ballot. So you learn shit like that, which is very interesting, what people prioritize.
Well, I vote that we talk about Taylor Swift's, because like you're talking about like elections and stuff. So, and like how like the system is rigged. So here's a tweet from former GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl next month. And I wonder if there's a major presidential endorsement coming from an artificially culturally propped up couple this fall. Just some wild speculation over here. Let's see how it ages over the next 8 months. And it's like, come on.
What is he talking about? Like, do people on the right not think that her and Travis Kelce are like love each other or like into it? Like first of all, why Travis Kelce? Like, yeah, he's good-looking guy, very good-looking guy. He's the best at his position, arguably, but he's not like the superstar of the NFL.
No,
he's not. He's not the quarterback. He's not. Like, I don't get it. Like, why would they? If anything, first of all, if this was going to be artificially created, it would have been a black player. It absolutely would have been a black player.
Yeah,
because then you're merging, like, to put it broadly, you're merging like hip hop and rock, like pop, like you're merging that. Also, like, why, like, the Chiefs weren't, like, yeah, they were really, really good this year, but they actually kind of had a down year in the regular season. They pulled it together in the playoffs. They weren't the dominant team. They weren't the undefeated Patriots from 2007. Like, it wasn't Tom Brady, basically.
Right.
They probably could have lost in the playoffs. Like, I just don't get it. Like, why? Like, this is where, and I like Vivek for the most part. Like, out of the Republicans, I can't stand Nikki Haley. DeSantis kind of just stay a governor. I think I was for him at one point, but I don't think he has what it takes. Like, I like some of Vivek's it's like cake, Vivek's views, but then he says shit like this, like, dude, what do you, like, you're too online. This is just people start getting a following. This happened in the DeSantis campaign. This happens to Democrats all the time, like the Elizabeth Warrens.
Right.
They get way too online and they start focusing on shit that like what are you talking about?
Yeah, I feel you. I've gone back and forth on him where I'm like, yeah, he actually seems principled. He's focusing on specific issues, and he's young. He's got all his energy. He might be good, but then you're right. Then he'll go off on some crazy fringe shit, and it's like, okay, you lost me. Like I was with you for a bit there, but so
yeah.
I want to read from someone who's actually like I think is a genuinely principled right wing person, Laura Loomer. So she tweeted out the Democrats, and she's it's a possessive. The Democrats Taylor Swift election interference psyop is happening in the open. It's not a coincidence that current and former Biden admin officials are propping up Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. They're going to use Taylor Swift as the poster child for their pro-abortion get out the vote campaign.
Pro-abortion.
Pro-abortion. Yeah.
I mean, yes, of course there are. By the way, side note, have you ever seen that? If you haven't, I'll send it to you on Twitter because I was actually looking through. Sometimes I randomly just look at my likes on Twitter just to like have a laugh. The Kellyanne Conway, where she's like talking about when the Democrats do when they wake up in the morning. It's like they wake up and their alarm is set to January 6th and their phone's January 6th. It never changes, and then they get in the car and they go get an abortion. It's like, it's so. I mean, it's so funny because it's ludicrous but also believable.
Yeah,
like that's why it's so on point. But yeah, so or do you think, Laura Loomer or Vivek, like, do you think that maybe Biden's numbers are in the toilet? They have, like, the way things are trending. Yeah, Trump could completely implode because he's Trump and he has a lot of lawsuits and all that shit, and he might be Biden's saving grace. But do you think that maybe they're just capitalizing on the most popular person in America to give an endorsement, like, and they know that she's done so in the past, maybe like somewhat tacitly taking a photo with Biden cookies or whatever, that's not really, I mean, has she tweeted stuff about, I don't know, I'm sure she has, but like maybe they're just trying to win their election in a very smart way, that they're like not doing very well in pretty much anything else right now, even the economy, which is recovering and for some people going very well. Like people still feel like it's shit because in a lot of ways it is shit, but in a lot of ways it is doing well. So like, I don't know, maybe they're just trying to win an election and you guys should be smarter and not always like, I love a good conspiracy. I think a lot of conspiracies are not are accurate. There's actually a lot that we don't hear and that's withheld from us. And there are institutions and forces that be that work in tangent and kind of events of each other and all of that. But this is not one of them. Like this cannot be one of them. It doesn't make any sense. And you lose credibility when anything that like is going against you, you call a conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's like when the left calls anything racist or white supremacist or imperialist or whatever it is, like you lose credibility. You sound like a loony.
Yeah. And this very much reminds me of like, the classic, newspaper clippings and photographs and documents and then connecting.
Like
lines, a pop singer to a football player to Pfizer to the Biden administration to pro-abortion. And it's like, okay, now you're like,
exactly. It's going to be like, well, Travis Kelce was with Biden at the White House. It's like, yeah, because they won the Super Bowl and every team gets invited to the White House. Like whoever wins the championship in their sport. Like,
but to be fair, like the left does this, with like, we connect, slavery to capitalism to feminine to, like the patriarchy, where it's like just connecting all these things and how it's like, okay.
Well, the left calls that, there's a word for that in the left. They call it intersectionality.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which also, did I send you that? I'm sorry, I'm doing some like verbal memes right now, but it was like this like great intersectional pretzel where it was in I think it was London. It was England. I'm assuming it's London. I think it's the only city with the red buses. But there's a guy standing there with like one of those placards that like goes, like sits in front of your chest.
Mm-hmm.
He was just standing there, just like a regular dude with something about like not something with trans and children, right? Like something very simple.
Yeah.
And there's some Antifa guys. Of course, they're in black masks and covered, and they're like they go up to the guy, and there's some argument. There's like two Muslim girls, and they have the hijabs on, and the Antifa guys think that they're gonna have some allies in these Muslim girls saying like what this guy believes, and they're like, yeah, he's right. The two girls are like, yeah, he's right. Women can't, like, boys can't be girls or something like that. And they're like, what? He's like, yeah, man. And they start like cursing at, like, he starts and you tell the Antifa guys was like not expecting that, and they get attacked for being like wrong, and they start using their own language against them. Like, you gotta respect religion and basically like cultural relativity bullshit. And I was like, yes, that's a perfect intersectional pretzel.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
The right's kind of losing the plot on this one, as the kids are saying.
And then one more highly principled conservative here, Mike Crispy.
Who's Mike Crispy?
He I'm not sure exactly, but he's a Rumble video host. So
how do you spell his name?
CRISPI.
Gotcha.
Mike Crispy. I've never heard of him before, but like if your main thing is a Rumble video host.
Yeah, exactly.
The NFL is totally rigged, and rigged is all capitalized here, for the Kansas City Chiefs. All to spread Democrat propaganda. Calling it now. KC wins, goes to Super Bowl. Swift comes out at the halftime show and endorses Joe Biden with Kelsey at midfield.
That would be so wild. That'd be so wild, but it's not going to happen. I mean, I get it. Like, yes, the Travis Kelce thing, doing the Pfizer commercial, like, doesn't help.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I'm not rooting for, like, that's solely why, and it's not solely why. I think the Niners, and they have a cool, like, I like the Niners. I like Shanahan. I like his offense. I'm not a fan, but I just rather see them win. But now, like, if it was just without all the shenanigans, I would probably still root for the Niners,
right?
Or not care as much. But now it's like I'm definitely rooting for the Niners. But like that doesn't help. But this is just like this is a loser for the right wing.
Yeah,
like you have to have some self-control and not call everything a conspiracy because it's not. And you look silly. You look unserious.
And you'll nuke your chances I
loved it. Great.
Of winning the culture war. Speaking of nukes. So you finally saw
Finally watched Oppenheimer. I did.
What'd you think?
Very good. And there's our review on Oppenheimer.
Nice. I agree.
It was great. It was it's not my top movie so far.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't written the review, which you can find on Ben's Pocket Movie Reviews on the TRM Medium page.
Publication.
I haven't written my review yet. It's going to probably be around a 92. So, in the 90s, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think Everything Everywhere All at Once, which won Best Picture last year, I also had a 92, which was like my third or fourth movie of the year. It was fourth. Yeah, it was tied for fourth with any other 92. But it was very long, 3 hours, and it's literally 3 hours and 1 minute. Wild cast. I mean, everyone is in that movie. There's so many people are in that movie. I was concerned that I was going to get too tedious, but it doesn't. I think it blends, obviously the story of creating the atomic bomb, what's the term, like the inner, like fighting his inner demons. This issue, he knows what he's creating, but it's necessary. The institutional forces, obviously the US government, and then like the scientific, just like creating something that's never been created before, the race to do it against kind of both the Germans and the Soviets, Nazis and the Soviets. It had sex in it. It had Florence Pugh's tits. It had Jason Clarke, who I love. I actually want to give a shout out for Jason Clarke. I think he's a really underrated actor. I think he's fantastic. He was in the Kane Mutiny Court Martial, which was a really cool legal movie I watched this year. Came out this year. It's literally just like, when I say courtroom movie, there's like 1 or 2 scenes not in the courtroom. So it's very cool. And if you've seen the Kane Mutiny, which was a Humphrey Bogart movie, I believe. I watched that a while with my dad. But and in this, he's also a quasi prosecutor, but like that kind of thing. I just think he's a really, really good actor.
He was also in I liked him in Chappaquiddick, which is another political.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. He's in that.
Yeah, he plays that Kennedy dude.
Oh, he plays Ted Kennedy?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna see that. He's in Great Gatsby. He's a small role, but he's one of my favorite lines. He's like, "You can hide from me, but you can't hide from God." And he's that. He's the guy who's the husband of the woman who Tom is having the affair with. Like he's kind of his. It's like his side piece. She's like the definition of a side piece.
Nice.
And I think it's Isla Fisher, right? I think that's her.
I think so.
He's in the new Pet Cemetery. It's not a very good movie.
Yeah,
but just watch the original for that.
He's Australian, which is unfortunate. But other than that,
is he okay? Never mind. Take it all back. I'm kidding. He's great. That's so interesting because he has such a distinct accent, like American. Like he always has the same accent.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anyway, it has tons of people in it. Ben Safdie, something Wolf. I always get the Wolves confused, but the one from Hereditary. I don't know, man. Lots of people. This is a German actor who I like, plays Heisenberg. And
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Yeah, Gary Oldman's good. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. is up for a supporting actor.
Yeah.
And who am I missing? Who's the final
Cillian
one?
Murphy.
Of course, Cillian Murphy, who is like fantastic. I need to go look at the best actor. He is fantastic.
Yeah.
In that. Emily Blunt. Okay. So and lots of others. And Matt Damon. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
But every scene, it's like, oh shit, it's him. Something Modine, the guy who I love from
Matthew Modine
from Full Metal Jacket.
Yes.
All the way back then. So anyway, very great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. I'm still kind of mulling it over.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are on it. If you where are you in it?
I loved it. I thought it was pretty terrific.
Did you see it in theaters?
Yeah, I saw the press screening.
Oh, that's right.
I was bragging about that shit. Universal Studios, baby.
I'm very jealous.
I thought that I loved it. I thought it was terrific, and may even be Nolan's best film of the ones that I've seen. I've seen almost all of his films, I think.
Yeah, it might. I don't think it's my favorite. It's not my favorite, but it might be his best. I really do love Memento. I know.
Yeah,
Memento's different. Memento's one of my favorites.
I think in terms of just like pure artistry, I think this was like a masterstroke for him. But I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's the one I enjoy the most of Nolan. But this is him just pulling out all the stops, just going full on like maestro on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that the last third of the movie, I thought it was good, but it kind of lost a little bit of like the movie itself kind of lost steam after the bomb, and there was just sort of like the aftermath. It was like
I'm done. I saw it. They did it.
I know exactly, America. And so like all of the legal proceedings were terrific, but it was just sort of like, it's just not quite it just didn't have as much energy as like, we have to build a bomb to blow up Nazis, and then it was like, okay, we're gonna spend the next hour in a courtroom or like in a small like room.
Yeah.
So it's like,
you know what? So a couple comments.
Yeah.
You know what made me like not sick to my stomach, but it was just so like, oh my God. When they were picking the cities in Japan for what they were going to bomb.
Yeah.
Could you imagine like, oh my God, dude, there's like picking and whoever it was, I forget who he was in the movie, Secretary of State or something. It wasn't the president, which is weird. You would think this would be the president's decision.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh no, not Kyoto. It's too culturally significant. And I went there on my honeymoon with my wife. It's like, because this guy went on his honeymoon with his wife. Like, no, it is the cultural capital of Japan. It's extremely significant. I've been there. It's gorgeous. Not the most welcoming city. I'll leave it at that. I would say Osaka is incredible. And of course, Tokyo is one of my favorite cities in the world. But if you go to Japan once, you have to go to Kyoto. If I go back, which I do plan to, probably wouldn't go back. But anyway, just like the fact there's like picking from a list of cities, which to nuke is so kind of sick to me. But of course, there's no other way to do it. You like throw a dart at a map.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, but that like seeing that backroom part of it really kind of hit me and was like, oh my God, like 80,000 people dead in a second because a bunch of guys in a room decided that, oh, that one makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's not Tokyo. Tokyo got firebombed shit, but like it's not Tokyo, it's not Kyoto. It's like, okay, Hiroshima, cool. How about Nagasaki? Cool. Like there's actually some, if anyone here listens to Red, so there's some conspiracies about why they picked Nagasaki, because if you didn't know, Nagasaki is like what's like the Catholic capital of Japan. Like they're the huge, like if you've seen Silence, which is one of my favorite movies, the book also, that's where like the Portuguese missionaries went. There was like a sizable Catholic community there, and there still is somewhat, but like people are like, oh, well, Truman picked that because he's a Mason and they hate the Pope and they hate cat. So it's like, why not stick to the Catholics? It was like the one part of Japan that actually had like a big Catholic, like Christian community. Right. I don't know how much credence there is to that, but I want to spread that disinformation. I'd like to spread that misinformation.
Yeah, let's do it.
Or that information, if it's missed, then it is. But anyway, but yeah, it's just kind of crazy to me that they just pick off a list. It's like, no, not that one. How about this one? It's like, boom, 100,000 dead.
Just being so casual about casualties. And well, now I know why they call it casualties. Just like,
I mean, I want to stick to the movie here, but just like history-wise, I've gone back and forth, and it's like, I think we had to do it. Yeah, because it wasn't Germany. Like Japan was going to fight to the last man. Yeah, and when we had this capability, a land invasion of Japan would have been so brutal, so horrific. Yeah, that it's like, it almost feels like if it was any other country, we probably could have avoided it. Right. After we showed, like, because we did show them. I think they left that out of the movie. I don't think they talked about it, but I think we were like, hey, we have this. We're going to use this if you don't surrender. And they didn't. Oh, maybe a historian will correct me on that. I'm pretty sure, because they didn't mention that in Oppenheimer. It's like, well, what if we just show them what we have? Right. Because they say, like, no, a land invasion in Japan. And again, I'm a huge fan of Japanese culture. I have a map of Japan right fucking there. I've got that behind me right there. That's from Japan. That like most of the art in this room is from Japan.
Stop appropriating their culture, please.
I know, I can't help it. But I've always had a connection in Japan. My grandfather was stationed there during the occupation. We never met. He died before I was born. So I always kind of had like I always kind of had that with like my family. I always had this like slight connection to it. Yeah. So I love, like, as a country, it's amazing. I love the of course it has its issues. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of issues. But I don't like, I'd never want to say you had to kill 150, 250,000 people. But it's like, what was the other option? Right. Because they weren't going to surrender. Right. And it would have led to a lot more American deaths and other deaths, Chinese deaths and Russian deaths. And anyway,
Godzilla wasn't created until 1954. So they didn't have that in their back. They didn't.
We could have just waited until Godzilla.
I know, exactly. It would have been a fair fight, but then so they didn't have that chance. So
we have Godzilla. We nuke Godzilla, 2 birds with 1 stone. We don't have to worry about Godzilla anymore.
Well, I thought one part that was kind of heavy-handed for me, and for Chris Nolan as a director was when Oppenheimer gives the speech. To like the college kids there, and then everyone's cheering. Later. So this is after I think it was after. No, yeah, it was after we bombed Japan, and then he announces that it was successful surrender, blah blah blah, and then everyone's cheering, but then he sees it's like a subjective shot of like burning bodies and stuff, and then I was like, and that to me was kind of like it's a little on the nose, yeah. Especially Chris Nolan, who's not afraid to be heady and to leave a lot of stuff out and kind of let you figure out what's going on. It's like, Chris, come on.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I kind of thought that too. I was like, oh, it's not really necessary. Like, I could give her, I could take it or leave it. I think the more well done parts were like the water ripples.
Well done.
Well done. Yeah.
Speaking of well done.
Well done. Oh, Jesus. I did not say that on purpose. The parts that were done well, were the like water ripples, like showing that, like comparing that to the mushroom clouds and how one affects the other. And I mean, that is, I'm no scientist here, but that is how this was created. It's like, if I remember correctly, it's like an atom, they like break, and then what they first thought it was going to be was something like, again, not physicists, but like each one would have to break, like each atom would have to fission or something like that. Instead, it was like, no, you can use a fissioned atom, a broken atom, to set off another, and it creates that explosion. I think that's like the most basic way I could put it. And if I'm wrong about that, please correct me. So the same like water ripples, like one creates the next and the next. And if you throw like a couple stones and it's, it can spread out over a whole pond. I thought that was very cool, which I probably didn't even catch right away till then they showed it, all these explosions going off around the world.
I thought a lot of like the visual imagery, Chris Nolan did not use, or I highly doubt that he didn't use any CGI, but he kept CGI down to a minimum. So
funny. Sorry, you know what he had to CGI?
I know there's a bomb in the background. Like
no. This is like funny. In India, you remember Florence Pugh is sitting in the chair, just like topless, naked. They had a CGI dress onto her to like release a movie in India or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw it. It looks really bad. It's like they didn't even give a shit. Like
it's kind of Photoshop.
Like this is. I mean, I would be the same if I was Chris Nolan. I'd be like, yeah, just put it like fucking what's it called? Like the art. Like what was the thing like the 90s we would use as kids?
Oh, like Photoshop.
Yeah, but like it was pre-Photoshop.
Oh,
it was like kids Photoshop, something art. Cut art,
like clip art.
That was it. He's like clip art, like dress on Florence Pugh.
She's wearing like a ballroom dress. Right, that post coitus. I love like the visual, like the close ups of like the sparks and like all the spinny things and all that shit. Like I thought that was really cool. I thought that was like the use of macro photography was very Kubrickian. Because that's what he did is like crazy experimental macro photography for 2001: Space Odyssey.
What is macro photography?
Macro photography is when you zoom in super close on something like that's incredibly tiny and it looks huge, and so it just kind of reveals like this whole world that you didn't really didn't know. So like there's a great YouTube channel where this guy will zoom in like unbelievably close to like it fills the whole screen of like a match head igniting, but like in slow motion. So it's like you see like just like the sparks kind of like rippling across the head of the match, and and it looks like a CGI, but it's just he created a way to like zoom in.
Yes, if zoomed in slow motion creates its own kind of like CGI. It's very cool.
So for like the supernova stuff in 2001: A Space Odyssey, it was like this close-up photography of like taking like a black ink or like coffee, like a very dark liquid, and then putting different colored dyes and just zooming in, so it's like they collide with one another.
What
part?
Like, what part in 2001?
It was during like the where he's going through like the psychedelic
all the lights and everything. Oh, that's how they did that.
Yeah, well that was one of the things, but like all the scenes of like the liquidy type stuff, it just kind of it was just close-up photography of inks colliding with each other.
Is that your favorite Kubrick movie?
I think 2001: Space Odyssey. Yeah, I think
that's your favorite.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's one of my favorites. I don't know, it's hard to pick a favorite.
I know they get better each time I watch any of them, pretty much. Like
I think I'm a Clockwork Orange.
That's a good one, yeah.
But
Nolan's a big fan of Kubrick, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Of course.
If
we were talking about other Nolan movies. Yeah. I've always said I think Interstellar gets a bad rap. I actually really like Interstellar.
I really like it too. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty great movie. And they're like the way he shot the miniatures look very much like from 2001: A Space Odyssey, just like the type of lighting and just like the. So it's he definitely used a lot from 2001.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this when I was talking about Oppenheimer, but I love like the recruiting scene. Like,
a great I call them like the getting the gang together scene.
Yeah,
like every heist movie has it, and they did that in Oppenheimer too. Yeah, I think I made a note of that.
Yeah, it was cool. I love that, and also it's just like it made me feel very patriotic because it was just like, okay, so we're in the middle of a war, and we want to create a bomb. A nuclear bomb, and the Nazis are already ahead of us 18 months. Are you in? Yeah, count me in. Just like that American, like, fuck yeah. Like,
yeah, it was very cool. And it was very like you had all these minds with like different accents, and like Benny Safdie's character was Hungarian, and you had Germans and British, and that was very cool. I always like the getting the gang together scene. And so it's like you son of a bitch, I'm in. Like exactly. Like Rick and Morty does a whole episode about that. It's just getting the gang together. I think they all like just die right away. It's like, oh shit, we gotta get another gang together. So, So something like that. And they all say, "You son of a bitch, I'm in."
But just when they're talking about like, oh, like, we have to get so and so. He's the expert in micro whatever plastics or whatever. So it's like we got to get him. But just like the idea of like every guy is like like the top mind in the respective field.
And there's always some like counterbalancing force that has to like pay for. It's like, oh come on, how are we gonna pay for that? It's like, it's like, do you need him? We need him.
Exactly.
Right. Like there's always something. It's always something like that. I think that's like Matt Damon's character or something in this, right? He's a general.
The uptight heel, the authoritarian figure.
Like, oh, come on, like very, very good.
Yeah. So good. So good job, Nolan. Good job.
I thought Cillian Murphy was great. I could definitely see him winning Best Actor. Again, I haven't seen everything off the top of my head. I know. Was Bradley Cooper nominated for Maestro? I believe so, right?
I think so.
Which I wrote that review today. He's really good. I didn't love the movie, but he's great in it. Did we talk about that last episode?
Yeah, we sure did. And how there's a lack of music.
Yeah, lack of music in a fucking music movie. It's like, okay, we get it. He likes to bang young dudes. Like, it's not why I'm here. Like, I'm watching a biopic about a very famous person to see what they're famous for. He's not famous for having sex with young men. Like, I'm sorry, that's boring. What's interesting is how he was the composer of a generation.
Yeah. So good job, Christopher Nolan. You did it again. And
so how many Oscars does he have?
He doesn't have any.
He doesn't have any?
He's got several nominations, but no wins.
He didn't win anything for Dark Knight?
Nope. Wow. Yeah, I mean, he was not nominated for Dark Knight. Can you believe it?
The movie wasn't even nominated?
It was not. It got a few Oscar nominations. I know it won for Heath Ledger, but he Nolan himself was not nominated for anything.
Interesting.
I know he's got 2 nominations for Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay and Best Picture for what's the dream one? Inception. I know he's been nominated for Dunkirk.
I didn't love Dunkirk. It was probably my least favorite Nolan movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you liked it less than Tenet?
No, that's my least. I can't stand Tenet. Tenet I actually am very vocal about. I think it's a bad movie.
I thought it was fun, but I was confused by it the entire time. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm dumb or if Chris Nolan was just not playing by his own rules, or
my view on Tenet is Chris Nolan. It was he needed to be reined in a little. It was him at his most Nolan fucking with time. You know how he loves to mess with time. It was like, all right, dude, like too much. Like we said, with like the progressives in California, like you need a little moderating effect. Yeah. He needed that with Tenet. Was him at his most extreme. Yeah. I like Dunkirk. I think is good. I'm putting this on a Chris Nolan scale.
Right. So it's still above average. It's still like,
way above average. Like a really good movie. Yeah. Really good movie. Tenet, I think, is a bad movie. Like, I don't care how much money you put into it. Oh my God. Oh, it's the son. Oh, it's him when he's older. It's like, oh, we're stopping World War III. It's like, no, it's not World War III. A nuclear holocaust is not World War III. Right. Like, I'm sorry. I'm so tired of that. Like, oh, the rich guy, if I can't have you, no one can have you. So I'm going to destroy the world. Like, oh my God. It was like, how many times have we seen that? Yeah. I don't know. I'm going off a tangent here. I don't like Tenet. But besides that, I think he's fantastic.
I love Tarantino's review of Tenet, which was...
what is it?
I think I need to watch it again. He just left it at that. He didn't say.
I can't. Because people actually make that argument with like certain. Some movies do get better the more you watch them. Yeah, fine. Yeah, great. And that like having that, like, some movies get a lot worse because there's a big twist at the end. So if you watch, like, of course it's not going to be a good. Like, that's fine. There can be movies that get better the more you watch them. Yeah. Like, I think Children of Men, my favorite movie. I think it's gotten better every time I watch it. I learn something new about it. I see something differently. Like. But you grade it off one viewing. Like if you have to watch something twice to really get, like, no, that's not a good movie. I'm sorry, but that's not good. You don't need to reread a book or anything. But that's not how art should work. Right. The second time I go to see, Guernica, is not like, oh, now I get Guernica. Like, no, I'm seeing it. It should have the effect on me right away.
Real quick, speaking of Guernica, that reminds you of an anecdote that I read. I have this book. It's actually you might get a kick out of this. It's a good way to seem much more sophisticated than you actually are. I need that. Yeah, I got it used for $2. It's Sweet. The Faber Book of Art Anecdotes. So it's just a bunch of
Mm.
like
Oh,
fun
like
little
yeah,
stories.
sound smart at like dinner parties.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
well, speaking of that one is so who was the guy who did Guernica? It was what's his face?
Picasso.
Picasso. Yes, thank you. Yes, Ben. Thank you, Benjamin. But yeah, so apparently Goebbels saw that painting
Yeah.
and at the actual show that Picasso was at, and
Oh,
then
really?
yeah, and then so he said he went up to Picasso and said, "This is an interesting painting. So what caused it?" And then he goes, "You did." Oh
Yeah.
no, it wasn't Goebbels though. It was some guy who was part of.
That was it Franco?
It was Franco.
Because what Guernica is, Guernica is I
It's a
believe
war thing, right?
yeah, it was a town or city in Spain, I think up in the Basque country that was bombed
Yeah.
by the fascists. Now, it might have been Goebbels because the Nazis were funding. Remember, the Spanish Civil War was the people argue that World War II actually started in the early 30s with Japan and China, and then the Spanish Civil War, which was a proxy war, like an open proxy war between the fascists and the democracies or whatever, and the fascists and then the communists. Really, the communists really were funding more of the Republic of Spain, while the fascists, Italy, and the Nazis were funding the Franco side, the nationalists of Spain. And so maybe that's what Picasso meant. Like the Nazis were funding the fascists who.
I was close. I was very close, and
Okay.
which means you might be very close on this too.
Yeah.
So I have right here. It was said that Abitz, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Hitler's ambassador in Paris, had been struck by a photograph of the picture and asked, "Oh, it was you, Monsieur Picasso, who did that?" To which Picasso replied, "No, it was you."
Gotcha. Yeah. So that is what he was saying. He was saying that like that it would be like today, it would be like, oh, President Biden saw art about Gaza. It was bombed by Israel. That's what it would be like. Like who did this? Like you did because you're funding the Israelis who are bombing Gaza. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our separation.
But that was very
Guernica's also in Children of Men.
Shut up. No way. Really?
Well,
Get
no,
out of
it
here.
is.
The actual place for the painting.
The painting. Because
Okay.
in the movie, Clive Owen's character goes to I think it's his cousin who is super wealthy and has a lot of connections in the government. And so basically he just does basically what I would do if I was in a situation, just like collects art and things from history because the plot of Children of Men, right? It's like there's no children anymore.
Yeah, it's
So everyone's just gonna
dystopian
die.
future.
So it's like he just collects art and they're like eating dinner and Guernica's in the background. It's very cool. It's like it's probably one of the most expensive pieces of art in human history.
There's a very in the very first James Bond film, Dr. No, there was some famous painting. I can't remember what it was, but it went missing a few years before the movie came out. And so when James Bond, when he goes to like the secret lair of the evil villain guy, he's got all of these like all this artwork, and then there was like a reproduction of. I mean, in the movie, it was meant to be the original, but it's like, oh, he was the one who stole it. So
that's good, yeah.
And then like a year after the movie came out, then that painting ended up getting recovered. But it was like a nice little nod to something kind of recent at the time. But like, oh, he's the one who stole that famous painting.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So I think Oppenheimer. Again, I have a lot of catching up still. I'm actually finishing John Wick 4 tonight. I know that wasn't like nom for a lot of Oscars or anything, but I'm just trying to get as many 2023 movies so far. John Wick 4. I think it's losing kind of its luster, man. Like I don't know. I loved 1 through 3. I thought they were like I don't really love pure action, but these were like fun and can't be enough. But we're like it's kind of losing its luster to me. Maybe it picks it up in the second half.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked at reviews or anything or have seen what people think of it, but we'll see. Yeah.
Well, good, man. We'll talk about that someday, I guess.
Probably not, but we could do a John Wick episode. But I want to do Poor Things. I want to do Anatomy of a Fall. Like I want to try and get in all of the. Actually, American Fiction is going to be playing at my local theater, so I might go see that because that's nominated.
Cool. Sweet, man.
We'll see. Yeah.
All right. Well, Oppenheimer. This concludes Swiftenheimer.
Yeah, that was great. I highly recommend. Yeah. I think I probably will win the Oscar, but we'll see. It'd be funny because that'd be 2 movies in a row. I give it 92.
Yeah.
I'll win the Oscar. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, Benjamin. All right, stay reckless. Fight them crits.
Fight the crits.